Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the Shadow and Sun Show, and welcome to the first of potentially many more prepping videos based on this particular and an adjacent topic, that being prepping against the supernatural. They say this time of year, the veil between our world and the next is thinner. I'm not sure exactly what that means because of my own personal beliefs, but I and my family have encountered things throughout the course of at least living here in this particular neck of the woods for the last 12 years, as well as my own encounters throughout my life elsewhere and abroad, have encountered things I just can't explain. And today we are going to talk about, what you can do if you think your house is being visited by something unnatural, or maybe you yourself have been followed around by something unnatural, or you know of a location that just doesn't feel right, and you don't have access to an actual exorcist or a professional. My guests here today are going to, from their experience, give us some tips on how we can handle these situations and what we can do about it in lieu of being able to actually hire or call in a professional, because a lot of times those people, they either want a lot of money or they're just not available, or they need to do a whole lot of research into your situation, and you want to put a stop to it as quick as possible. So right off the bat, I am going to bring in Raven McMinn, my partner in the paranormal from 1-2 Radio, a lovely young lady who is about to pop in right now. Good afternoon, Raven.
Good afternoon.
How you doing?
How you doing? Good, good. Thanks for having me.
The least I could do. I've been on your show numerous times. I think it's only fair. And now I'm going to bring in my good friend Grim, who has actually done some ghost busting of his own throughout the years and has quite a bit of experience. And I can think of no other person I'd rather have at my back when I'm, investigating the next condemned asylum or prison or something like that, or even just, when things start getting weird. So how you guys doing today?
Really good.
Good. It's nice. Thanks for having me on. Nice to see you, Shadow. Nice to see you, Raven.
Absolutely. Grim, can you see if you can raise your volume, or I'm going to see what I can do. If there's anything I can do, hold on. Edit my settings, because there we go.
I can move this.
If there's anything, for some reason it's not letting me mess with your mic. Can you adjust your mic and see if we can get you a little bit louder? You're muted. You're still muted, Grim, and I am actually back. I believe that's your son. Is that correct, Grim? Yeah, you're still muted. You should be able to just. I'm gonna unmute you. How about?
One moment.
Okay, yeah, you're no longer muted, but let's hear some words.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, that's much better. A little.
Sorry about
actually,
that.
No worries. So.
And that's my son, William, who was doing technical support.
That's what I figured. You can't talk because you're in the middle of a home invasion, and just blink once for yes and twice for no.
No, we don't allow that here.
Right off the bat, I want to discuss the thing that I talked about. Why is it that people talk about this time of year being, more prone to supernatural activity? Is that just a cultural, historical, or just a made-up thing?
Well, it was believed that this time of year is when the veil between the world was thin. And it used to be the final harvest at the end of October, and that was actually in the Celtic times and pagan times. That was the New Year with the final harvest, and so it was believed that because that veil was so thin, that ghouls and goblins and maybe ancestors that were not so nice, or anybody that was on the other side could come back and exact revenge upon you. And so that's why they carved the pumpkins. They didn't have pumpkins in Europe; they had gourds. So they would draw the scary faces to scare the other evil spirits away and so forth. But that's basically how all that came about.
So, Grim, have you found that that's actually the case? In your travels, Grim, have you actually seen more activity during this month? Or is it just maybe people are on high alert this time of year?
I haven't seen a difference personally, but I haven't really looked at it from that perspective. I go when people have called me, and it's been all different times of the year, and I would say I haven't noticed, but it could be. I don't know. And sadly, I wished I did, but I can't give you a straight answer on that because I really don't know.
It seems to me that while that may or may not have been true in the past, with as many people that are on the planet right now, that there would be more opportunity to notice these sorts of things. Do you think that might have anything to do with like today, that you can't go anywhere without bumping into someone who's had an experience or two with the supernatural?
I would say it's more in everyone's consciousness because of all the media and the TV shows and so forth. I think people are just more aware of it in general. I don't know. What do you think, Grim?
Well, I think you're right. A lot of that is like we didn't used to hear about a small crime in California till a very long time. So if you want to consider hauntings crimes, and I do, a lot of them, you hear more about it because of shows like these newer shows, like, of course, Ghost Hunters and all the paranormal shows that have come out. And there's a lot of them, but
yeah.
Also, I believe that people are going, personally, I believe people are going less and less from their faith. And they are, the more that's happening, I think the more you're seeing also a lot of greed in people, a lot of selfishness. And I think that can bring hauntings of the ill type, which we see. That's the type I see. I get people who want me to help them with a haunting that is not, that is scaring their family, that is causing them personal trouble, and they do. And usually in those kind of hauntings, you see what I believe how gateways are open. I'll just say this real quick. Gateways are done through blood, through fear, and through things like Ouija boards. And I've seen that a lot. As a matter of fact, I have a friend who had a Ouija board that he used, and they still, he is not a Christian, and he still is suffering, him and his family, his sister, his sister, and two other friends are still suffering from that use 20 some years ago, or I'm sorry, 20, almost 30 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
So I highly don't recommend those.
Yeah, Ouija boards they're marketed as a toy, and they need not be marketed as a toy. I know I got one for Christmas when I was 6 years old, and Mom and I used to play with that thing, and my girlfriends would come over. We played with that thing, and we always had weird stuff go on at our house. Gee, now it's no wonder, right? But at the time, we didn't know. It was marketed as a toy, and it looked like kind of fun, and I was always interested in that sort of stuff anyway. So naturally, I got one, and there's a lady by the name of Karen Dahlman who has been on Coast to Coast a few times. She uses Ouija boards, but she does angelic protection and creates a circle with the archangels and stuff before that she uses them. so that she doesn't get any creepy, evil things coming through them. And she's able then to get people answers and help them connect to their loved ones with it. So they just like with any divination, I mean, only certain people really should mess with it, and that know what they're doing, and they have to, they know to use protection so you don't unleash the hounds of hell, so to speak.
I know I've had my fair share of experiences with Ouija boards as well, and yeah, I really don't think that's something that should be trifled with, to say the least. If you really need to know something, we have this thing called the internet now, and God knows you can find out just about anything with them these days. So my recommendation is use the internet, just maybe not Google if you can avoid it. More on that later. So before we go on with the prepping, I was wondering if you guys would like to regale us with one of your more famous encounters.
I'll
Go
let you
ahead.
go first, Raven. Ladies.
Oh,
well, you go first.
Okay. I've had a ghost walk through me, and that was truly an experience, let me tell you. It was someone that I knew who had gotten killed on a motorcycle the day before, and all of his family and friends were staying at his place. And it was around 3 o'clock in the morning, and I heard the front door open, and it was an upstairs apartment, and it was all hardwood floors, and it had a big long staircase that went down that was all hardwood also. And when the door came open, it came open and slammed against the wall. And I thought, who is that? How rude of somebody to come at this hour knowing that we're all here grieving, And I got up off the couch and I walked to the top of the stairs. And here there are footsteps coming up these stairs, and I'm blinking and I can't see anybody. There's nobody. And I've got footsteps coming towards me. And so I was absolutely frozen in terror. And then they stopped just about 2 steps ahead of me. And I can't move. I'm so scared. I literally can't move. I can't even breathe, really. And then the next thing I know, I felt this like a rush through me, and it literally just like sucked all the air right out of my lungs, and it dropped me to the floor. I had no strength, and I was tingling and just totally disoriented there for a while. And I do believe it was the friend. It was the friend. I know for sure now. But footsteps continued down the hallway, and he just kind of went in and checked in on everybody, and then left. But it took me a little while before I could get my strength to where I could stand up and stagger back to the couch. That was the wildest thing. I mean, it was like putting your mouth around a shop vac and flipping it on. I mean, just all the air sucked right out of my lungs instantly.
I don't recommend doing that, folks.
Yeah, no, I don't. So that's probably one of my best ghost stories. Okay, your turn, Graham.
Well, I've had a lot of experiences. Just to say a little bit about me and a little bit of background, I've been doing this since the 70s when my father, for some reason, got a young lad into this. And he very much believed in evil spirits. He believed in that these were demons. He had experiences when he was a lad, and he tried to help people. As a matter of fact, he had a bag, and this bag, it's an engineer's bag. This looks like my father's bag. He used to, sadly, that has been was thrown away by my stepmother, but he had all of his things in there, blessed salts and various things. And he used to do what was called ghost whispering. And ghost whispering, he was World War II, and he had bad damage to his hearing. And he couldn't hear, and we would be in a room together, and he'd say, "Did you hear something?" And I'd either say yes or no, but he couldn't hear it. So what he did was he got a portable player, a portable reel-to-reel recorder, that he had used to do, he would do music and he recorded with that. So he put that in there and he would record him talking in the room, not because he thought there were things he couldn't hear that would come onto a recording like an EVP today, but because he couldn't hear. So
Right.
he would wonder if he was hearing stuff. So he would put this out and we would hear those things and he'd be like, "Did you hear that when we were in the room?" And I'd be like, "No." So I don't know if he was, but I think he was at least one of the first people to do what is called EVPs by the fact that he couldn't hear. So
Wow.
yeah, I still have some of those reel to reels somewhere. But when we would do these, we would go to people to try to help deal with demonic things. And it's today, you see it a lot. There's a lot of drinking. There's a lot of sad things like just domestic sadness in general, abuse, drinking, all kinds of things. Just homes are riddled with sadness. People, and today our own socio-economic systems have gotten so screwed up now. The way you used to be able to live, say, with one person working and one person at home, you can't even do that anymore. It's not a matter if ladies would like to stay at home and not work. They almost all have to work. And this causes a lot of stress. And there are stress in homes like I think we've never had it, except in times of war. And this is a war. It's spiritual warfare. And so a lot of people know what I'm talking about, discourse and kids start coming home from school and they start talking back and, you have other things you wouldn't expect.
Yeah, I've never seen that ever.
But well, Jackson's a great exception to a lot of kids today. He may be a little annoying sometimes, but so all kids are that, and we're annoying to them. But
yeah, there's an uptick in negative energy all around.
Absolutely, and that negative energy has brought some terrible things. I can remember one thing. We went to a bridge that didn't know much of the history of, and it is near Route 666 in Virginia. It's not on 666. It is near Route 6. I don't want to say exactly where it is. People shouldn't go there and try to deal with that kind of stuff, but it's near it's a church road. It's named after a church. And we went there and we got all kinds of things immediately. There had been layers upon layers of horror there, suicides, murders. I didn't know anything about this. And come to find out, we went into the woods there and we found a satanic ritual spot with some dead animals. And that spot we found later on, we found connected with a large group of very rich people coming from New York, New Jersey, and some other places. One of our friends who was a police officer, he went through those license plates and found out where they're from. And we also found out that this was connected with an old folks home that was very evil, had been for a long time. It had been closed. And we found the footprints of kids who had been killing animals under adult supervision, these adults. And they had been going in circles and we saw the bloody footprints. This facility was used for police training, and the police training didn't go well because they were trying to, both state police and local police and other local authorities were using this building for training because it was abandoned and it was a decent, well made for what that purpose would be. It was two floors, and it was under the care of a police officer, an ex-police officer. Retired officer. So they were using this, and the dogs would not go in there, and they would turn around, and we went in that place. What I'm getting at is I'm kind of getting off the subject, but this road was all connected with these Satanists, and so we went there and we found just all kinds of EVPs. The name boy who had committed suicide, he said his name on an EVP, which was very, very sad. His story was very sad. We found out that a local man that I knew when I was a kid had kidnapped his wife, who was seeing another person. I'm not going to say any of their names, of course, for family's sake, but he had his son had died in service to his country, and they had fallen apart. Their marriage had fallen apart, and she was seeing another guy, and he kidnapped her from her factory where she worked, and he took her into those woods and he tormented her, and he was going to kill her, but he decided in the end not to kill her, and he let her go. And before the police got to him, he had committed suicide. And we found out that we found a little league money bag that had been stolen by somebody in the little league that was in this place. And if you can see what I'm getting at, it was layer upon layer of evil. That's all the way back to murder. Some Union soldiers who had literally had during the Shenandoah Valley campaign, they had gone AWOL, and they had done murder of some freed people, African Americans who had been freed, and they had, without going into great detail, there was a lady with them, and you can probably guess what happened, and it was horrible. And they had also stolen some things, and apparently it even went back further than that. So I always thought that the kind of where this 666 was located near it, there was such just a horrible place. And that place, we tried. There were. If you know about Satanists, they leave symbols in places. And this bridge there were covered with different symbols that meant different things. And literally, there were things written for the folks who were not good with, didn't know anything about the more in-depth stuff. And it literally told them what to do. We covered that up. But
Good.
this place was a horror. And I can't imagine the houses near there, how they are, but there's a church near there. And we told the church, you need to be more aware of this. And we also found a knife. One of our people found a knife, and that knife was a very nice knife, by the way. It was not something you would want to lose. It was a very nice long folding knife from a very reputable, good company. It had a broken tip, and we bagged that up, and we gave it to the local authorities, and we found out that the FBI came and got that knife, and they were investigating this group of Satanists for various things. I can't go into detail about it because they didn't privy us to the details about it. My friend who was a deputy said, yeah, they came and got the knife. They asked a lot of questions. They asked me questions about the place where we found it and all that. We do know that they went out there, and we do know that it was connected with the group that was in the old folks home, who was literally getting these kids. You could see their bloody, killing animals, cats and dogs on a hanging thing in the middle of their pentagram. It was sickening. And which Satanists do a lot, by the way. Animal torture is one of their main unit. They can say whatever they want. And if they're playing around with Satanism and they're not doing this, they're not real Satanists. Because this is what they do. If you've ever,
and it infuriates me. It just.
I'm sorry, but the things they do, if they're real, is beyond anything you can imagine. They put initials in coffins with corpses. The stuff they do, I don't want to even go into it. It's vile beyond. It's real.
I know for an absolute fact. I've seen in my own travels some just absolutely abominable activities that
This
Normal
is,
folks don't want to know about. And if you guys are here tonight, this afternoon, this morning, depending on your time, we can talk about this sort of thing elsewhere. We have a really good question from my friend Rick. He just popped in. What supernatural stuff is expected to be encountered? It's something you kind of beat me to the punch. Now, in role-playing games and movies and TV shows, there's a lot of different names and categories and things like that. For me, I can only think of two things that I could even remotely believe in. The vampires and the werewolves stuff. I know there's people who think they're those things, but I've yet to see any of the evidence other than insanity, in people that would, qualify as being something like that. Otherwise, I'm looking at ghosts, which includes spirits and shadows and wraiths and specters and all that stuff. To me, they're just ghosts. Okay. And then there would be demons, evil things that we can't really categorize properly because there's according to legend and myth just innumerable types and forms and stuff like that. Am I missing anything?
Elementals.
Okay.
Elementals. Those are your fairies, gnomes, your nature spirits. They have different names through different cultures, but they're in a just in general, nature spirits kind of covers all of them. So is he talking about when he says what supernatural stuff is to be is expected to be encountered, is he just talking about on Halloween or this time of year or just in general?
Let's just go with in general. A lot of the things you mentioned, I could see being something else, one of the two other categories. I'm sure you can guess. But I know a lot of people believe in that sort of thing. And I'm not here to, give them a hard time. I can do that on Hungar's show. And I was wondering, Grim, would you add to that list or are we missing anything?
My beliefs on them are, except for this is my personal experience, my personal beliefs. I've found inevitably that good spirit in your home, and I've had that happen. That good spirit that they've seen, which was, say, a child, had that happen a couple of times. Inevitably is not a child. I don't believe God, our creator, lets children suffer and hang around. And inevitably, I've seen that child is a demon. And there was a lady, I wished I remember her name, but she started a thing. She had that experience, and she was not a Christian, and she started to see. She was living in a place, and there was a demon child. There was a child, and the guy that was living with her thought it was okay, and then he started to become crazy. And the gist of it is that child to her revealed itself as the demon. There was both spirits in there, and so no, my beliefs are that most hauntings are, except I have some evidence that suicide victims do stay, and I do believe, yep, and I do believe that folks who have passed away can come down to say a farewell, like your friend. I'm not sure, how that works, but I've had it happen to a lot of Christian folks and other folks where their loved one has gone on and they're saying goodbye, and telling them something or leaving them a message, but they don't hang around. And I haven't seen a great deal of evidence of anything wholesome hanging around. They pretend to be. Remember, demons are very old. They're older than us. And they were angels of light, and they're very good, very, very, very good at lying to you.
Yeah, I think that the jinn are the same thing as demons.
Absolutely.
And then when I was researching the jinn, there's like 7 or 8, I can't remember now exactly, but 7 or 8 different classifications, all under the heading of jinn, but they have different characteristics. And of the 8, let's say it's either 7 or 8. Of the 8, 6 out of the 8 don't like humans and will always try to trick humans and, create unhappy endings for them. And the thing with them, they can shapeshift into any image they want. And that's why they're so crafty. And they often do, like you mentioned, Grim, that they'll pose themselves as a child to seem harmless, and oftentimes to try to appeal to the female in the house, wanting to gain her trust and her nurturing and so on and so forth. And then they reveal themselves. Yeah, there's a famous picture from the Amityville Horror House that stuck right in my mind as soon as you said that. That's really creepy, of that little boy that they would see running around their house.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yep, I've heard of that.
Yeah.
Who's your kitty friend?
I actually, I heard the Amityville house
That's Milo.
What?
was a hoax, but every time somebody says something's a hoax, I instantly wonder just as much about that as I did about the actual haunting or experience in itself, because it seems lately people are very quick to throw that word around, like a lot of other words these days. So, or excuse me, debunked. I need to do my own research. I recommend everybody listening to this also do their own research. It is something that absolutely, the entire notion of doing your own research terrifies the powers that be more than anything you can imagine. So, real quick update from our friend Derek. Again, last night at almost 2 a.m., saw the same apparition, definitely human and female, same blue aura, almost like the color of fire when it turns blue from being extra hot. Found out that a lady passed away in their house in early 2000s. Well, hopefully Grim and Raven will have some advice to help, that thing, whatever it is, go away, because I'm assuming it's disruptive and possibly scary. And
Sometimes people don't know they're dead. And I had bought a house, and I had the man that had owned the house. He and his wife lived there for many years, and he died in that house, and he was still there. But what I've learned through talking with different paranormal investigators and reading a lot about this, if there has been a tragedy and a sudden death, like maybe a car accident or a freak accident, on the job, at a foundry or whatever, the freakier the accident, the more likely you are to have somebody who's in a state of shock, and they're outside of their body, they don't know how to get back in, and they don't know they're dead. And sometimes time works a lot different when you're in that little in-between space, that in-between dimension, so to speak. And so there really is no time at all. So they can wander around and try to communicate and get more and more frustrated because nobody can hear them. They feel like they're themselves, but nobody can hear them. Nobody can see them. And they'll often hang around and haunt where they last were, or they'll go to a home. My dad's office had an apartment up above, and there was a guy up there that had left the house to go commit suicide, but he came back to the house and then stayed up there in that apartment because he didn't know where else to go. He didn't know what else to do. For whatever reason, especially suicides, they tend to not want to go to the light because they feel they're going to go to hell and be punished. And so they'd rather stay in this state of limbo than face hell, So a lot of suicides won't cross over right away. And then for whatever reason, sometimes spirits will stay because they don't want to leave their kids or their spouse, and they think, oh, I'll just hang around till they're ready to go, and then we'll go together, and that's not a good plan either, because the ghost can be physically harmful to the human body system. It can be very draining. They siphon energy off of you, whether they want to or not. And it's terribly unhealthy. It can cause high blood pressure, cause heart problems. Yeah, you know what I'm talking about, right, Grim? Yeah.
Yeah, I'm 100% certain that if you find yourself in that situation, hanging around and watching what your family does with your stuff, and what they do after you've gone, whether they move on, and do other things, you probably don't want to be around to watch that, because that's just going to make you angry and more upset.
Well, we can hold them here too. If we grieve too hard, if we're really grieving really hard, we can hold their spirit here, and they can't very easily move on. We make it really tough for them.
I could see that. I could see that being actually the forces of evil actually just tricking a person into thinking that that's what's going on to cause as much mischief and mayhem as possible. Now, I had another question. Well, I've got a couple actually, but that's perfectly timed for right now. How can you identify what you are actually dealing with? Because a lot of times these things happen and we don't see anything. Like our friend Derek. He saw, excuse me, a blue ghost lady walking through his house.
The first thing I
do,
that
could be either thing. That could be a ghost, that could be a demon, that could be something. But what about when you've got a lot of mysterious things happening? Is there some way that in Ghostbusters they had that handy, PKE meter that would light up and tell them, oh, it's this kind of ghost. Is there something you guys could recommend, when weird things are happening in your house, other than setting up trail cameras all throughout your house?
First, I check in intuitively how I feel. I will, if there is a ghost, and I differentiate between a ghost and a spirit. A ghost is an earthbound human spirit, okay, and a spirit is one that's already crossed over, that's just come back for a visit. So when I'm talking about ghost, I'm talking about somebody that's stuck in the in-between and can't go anywhere for whatever reason. Okay, so ghost, I will get a physical sensation. I will have all the little hairs on my chin right here raise up and just prickle and tickle. It's the weirdest thing, I know, but there's you'll get an intuitive sign if something really frightens you.
I hear waxing will get rid of that.
Something isn't, huh? What'd you say?
I said I hear waxing will get rid of that.
Well, everybody has little hairs on their face, whatever.
Little?
Anyway, if it's something stronger than a ghost, I will get a fear that makes my gut just tighten up, and I'll just have like alarm bells going off in my head. I mean, it'll be visceral. So I check in physically, and see what my body is telling me about the situation and whatever intuitive hits I'm getting. And then from there, either call somebody or if it's something little I can handle myself.
Who are you going to call?
Who are you going to call? Yeah. EVP is probably the best way to see if you can communicate with it. There, before even having a thing to do EVPs, when I had that ghost in my house and he threw a picture of an angel off my wall and it shattered all over the floor in front of the Swan Man. The Swan Man would never come to my house again either. Was scared to death. Anyway, it's like, if you're strong enough to do that, then you're strong enough to help out and maybe take out the trash. Don't be breaking my stuff, I'm going to banish your ass if you do that again.
I love swans. I worked for swans. Now they don't have swans here. They have yellow, which is not swans. They don't come to my door. I'm sorry. I had to throw that in.
Yeah.
I was a warehouse manager for swans, and I miss it.
Cool. I miss swans bad. Yeah.
They were awesome.
So anyway, I just told him I would banish him. I just talked to it just like I'm talking to you guys. I mean, it's just a human. It's a human without a body, and sometimes they need help, and sometimes they don't mean to scare. Sometimes they need help getting crossed over. They don't know what went wrong. Sometimes, like if they've been murdered they don't want to cross over until they see that person brought to justice. And they often will find somebody that's either psychic or somebody that's close to the situation that can help. They want to see that person, come to justice. Would you agree, Grim?
My take on it is different than you have. I think people, I do believe that as you mentioned, suicide victims may hang around, may be forced to hang around. But as far as, I haven't really seen personally a lot of evidence of human ghost, as it's called. I've seen a lot of evidence of demons, and inevitably people believe they're ghosts. But when I come in, or my dad, or I used to have friends that did this, and we would come in and in our group, and if we said things like, in the name of Christ, I rebuke you, or I rebuke you in the name of the Holy Father, Yahweh, in the name of his Holy Son, Jesus Christ, and then with his Holy Spirit, which I'm filled. You can say many things. They don't like that. If you think you have a friendly ghost and you start saying this, you'll find out they don't like that. And as an interesting thing, I just wanted to bring up real quick, 28 millimeter and Derek both spoke of LSD. LSD and drugs today, I think we're overwhelmed by pharmaceutical companies with all kinds of drugs. And I believe those open gateways in your head, particularly when you're asleep. And if you start taking these drugs, I've noticed, I did an interview with a lot of people because I started thinking this was strange, and I'd had it happen to me. And I said, have you noticed more nightmares while you're taking these drugs that actually interfere with cognitive functions in some way? And they said, yes, I have. A lot worse nightmares than they'd ever have. Also alcohol. My dad discerned that in the 70s, that alcohol brings in these very negative, awful dreams. Until he stopped drinking himself, he had that happen. And then when he stopped, it all got much, much better. And he couldn't discern why that would be other than the alcohol. If you'll remember, they used to say in the bottles of different things, they said they were spirits. Well, the original true meaning of that with clergy and stuff was they were literally saying there are demonic spirits in there, because people would open up inhibitions and they would start cursing and raving and, being angry. You've heard of an angry drunk. There's a reason why they get angry. There's a reason these things affect them so bad. So I do believe.
Yeah, it's kind of funny how you don't ever, find alcoholics that are, religious fanatics or zealots, or, going to religious events more than any of the other possible activities. It's like you never hear about that unless there's a church to some Irish saint of drinking. You just really don't hear about that. Hey Fritz, welcome to the show.
Hey Fritz. Well, if you look at alcohol and drugs, and you look at, say, homeless people on the streets of, say, one of these big cities where they have trouble, like, say, San Francisco, do they look at it this way? If you ask most of those people what their lives were like, I'm sure, some of them never had a great life, but some of them will say, a lot of them probably will say, I used to have a good life. And people talk about gateway drugs of pot and all this stuff. Well, they are gateway drugs. And that literally, if you remember this, those drugs can literally be gateways. They can literally bring demonic forces into your life. And that's true. That's true. I've seen it. If you've seen a friend go downhill, you don't believe in demons, but you've seen them go downhill because of these things, just think about it. Think about maybe there's some truth to that. Maybe these gateways are being opened by these drugs, this alcoholism. I'm not talking about drinking a drink, or I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about drinking to excess. I'm not talking about taking pills from a doctor that you need to take necessarily, but it all causes. Oh, now I have a feedback.
Okay, I got it.
Anything. Sorry.
That was me. I'm sorry.
Oh,
I
yeah.
hit the mouse when the cat, and I in order to read the chat room, I have to look at the laptop, which is right behind my phone. The phone's what's
no
the
problem.
camera. Anyway, and I have it muted, and there's a lag time from our talking to the computer. So I'm sorry about that. Sorry for the distraction.
No. But like
no worries, Raven.
Like
it wouldn't be one of these shows without the technical difficulties, right?
And
welcome to the show, James. I hope you're going to be available later tonight. Jackie and I want to give you a call. And Derek says, I miss smoking. Been 4 years. I love coming home from work and smoking and watching a good movie at night. Some things we just have to give up, and if you want to keep keeping on, I guess. Fritz, she does that. She steals the show wherever she goes. You're just gonna have to bear with.
What? I missed that. I can't see it very well. Which is briefing. You have a shield around you. Your energy creates what's called an aura. Okay, and that aura is strong. It's like you can learn to see it actually by practicing on trees, really. But everything that's alive has an aura, and it's just a little bit like above, kind of like a little bit of a wavy. Here's the best way to describe it. Okay, like when you're on a highway and it's really hot out, and you see in the distance how it kind of looks wavy, the heat coming off the pavement, the asphalt. Okay, it's kind of like that. Everything has an aura. It's alive. It has a heartbeat. Okay, and that protects you. When you drink, that can get holes in it. And when you do recreational drugs, and that allows exterior things to leach into your protective shield that you've got, your light. Okay. And so you don't have to stop drinking unless you need to or whatever. But I'm saying, you don't have to abstain from alcohol, but don't get like shit-faced, and abuse it on a regular basis, because then you are asking for trouble, because then your light is diminished.
Absolutely.
And all kinds of things can piggyback on you and so forth. But if you want to have a couple glasses of wine now and then or whatever, have a beer with dinner, you're fine. You don't have to worry about anything demonic attaching to you. Just I thought I'd put that out there.
Very, very true. I agree with that 100%. But when you
so
start,
Graham, no worries. Back to the original question. How would you identify a situation or something, and then categorize it? What do you look for when you're going to, when someone invites you to their place to bust some ghosts or what have you? What are some telltale or key pieces of evidence you look for?
First, I'll talk to the family members that are willing to do it, and sometimes you'll find that not all of them are. But if it's bad, generally all of them will talk to you. And I generally I go into intimate details as far as like, do you do drugs? Do you drink, to excess? Is there a lot of family strife? These things can definitely be indicators of an evil haunting. Haunting. And I will ask them like, so you are having these issues. And I would tell them, when I come in or my friends come in to help these folks, all we can do, when I've done this, I've found this over and over, and I tell them up front, all we can do, and if we're successful, high-level demons are kind of a different story, but we can successfully help with smaller, low-level demons, if you want to say that. uh, that. But when we help them, like we put, I'll go through my little bag here, show you my Spirit of 76 bag. This is one of my bags that I use. We will use all kinds of methods. We will use holy cards that I give out. And by the way, I don't charge for my services. I might ask for gas money, but when I've done that, travel money, I'm not rich. But so we'll try to help folks by, and this is a long-winded answer, and I'm sorry about that, but we'll hand these cards, whatever suits. We have a lot of Catholic items and things, and we'll burn the proper incenses. Incense, myrrh is a good one. Frankincense is a good one. But what we do is when we do this, we
real quick, there's a question I don't want to get away from Mac Thompson. Sorry, buddy. Helping with demons by what authority, if he may ask?
By the authority of Christ. That's it. For me, there's no other authority. God, the Holy Yahweh, Christ, and His Holy Spirit. I don't have the ability to fight demons. I do not.
I use Archangel Michael.
Yep. Archangel Michael. Yep. We give those out to a lot of Catholic folks, and I believe the Archangel Michael does help. But I don't have that authority. And only Michael and anybody else, they go through the Holy Trinity to get that authority. So only through the authority of the Holy Trinity truly is that what I use, because I'm not anything special. I'm not able to, I
don't
can't.
sell yourself short, friend.
Well, I appreciate that, but I'm just a person, and I'm a person who believes, a believer, and I try to help folks. And inevitably, what we've found is by doing all this stuff, we might chase that demon, a couple of demons, whatever, away for a little while. But inevitably, we'll get a call back. Not always, but most of the time, we'll get a call back that it's worse than ever in a few days or a week or a couple weeks. And it says right in the Bible, if you chase one away, they will bring their kindred. And we don't know the number. We can say 7, we can say 10, we can say a score, but we don't really know. Whatever they bring in is what they bring in. Remember, they're soldiers, and they are trying to destroy you and I because they hate your guts. Think about that, folks. They hate your guts.
What did my guts ever do to them?
Nothing. You're just a child of God. When God made us and put us in the Garden of Eden, they hated that. They had already gone through the revolt at that time, and they had made their leader Lucifer, and they came down, and they just hate us like you would not believe. And that's why we have all these problems in the world. It's not that we just decided to have these. Look at Adam and Eve. Adam and Eve were fooled by the serpent, which was, you can say it was the devil, or you could say it was one of his demons, whatever. But he came and he wanted to attack them because he hated them. They were walking with God, talking with God. And I know this is a very Christian aspect that I'm telling your viewers and everybody listening. But if you think about it, and you think about how we were cast out, we sinned, we cast out. The devil didn't do the sinning for us. He let us, as God lets us, make that decision. The world is a crucible, and I believe that. And we make our decisions as we go. So these folks who are not saved and who are not changing their ways at all, even if they're not saved and they stop drinking or stop doing some of the drugs, they find out things get better. And I can't save your house or your soul. That's a decision you have to make. Or I can't stop drinking for you. I can't stop doing the drugs for you. That's a decision you have to make. These things came in because you invited them. Somehow they were invited. Or it could be the property. Properties, like I say, you have the gateways through blood, murder, suicides, satanic rituals. There's quite a few different ways, but mostly it's through painful, sad things that demons get portals into your home. And it may be in your home when you buy a used home, maybe on the ground, as I'm sure Raven would agree with, that there's grounds that are tainted badly.
Yeah. Yeah. And
So
she lives in one.
You live in a bad area? I'm
I
sorry to
have
hear
a
that.
house that's, yeah, it's got some crazy stuff that goes on around here. Absolutely insane.
Oh, wow. Sorry.
But to that point, I wanted to say that it would, if you're having difficulties with your home, it would be a good idea to do as much research as you can on the property and see, because there could be bloodshed back from the Revolutionary War. There could
Absolutely.
be an Indian fight, and that's something about that blood-soaked ground opens
Absolutely.
up the portal, and it attracts more negative stuff. So that's why, like you were talking about at the beginning, Grim, you get that layering. There's just one event after another that keeps of negativity that keeps going on in that same spot over and over and over again. And it literally creates like a vortex, an opening. Yeah, especially if there's bloodshed. So try to do some history on your property and see if there's anything like that, or if there's been a murder or
absolutely.
War,
like you brought up, war is not in any way, especially the Indian wars. People, they have this belief. We see a very, for the most part, a very sanitized version of war on TV and movies. War is a brutal, horrible event. It is men releasing all of their energy to kill another man that they probably, in other circumstances, would be sitting and talking with and, just having a nice time being friends with. War is not a pleasant thing. It's necessary sometimes, but the ground, when you see the brutality of it, it definitely can bring in a host of horror. Mm-hmm. They like demons like that when we slaughter.
So now we come to the part of the show that I know everybody's been waiting for. When, like I said at the beginning, when you do not have a priest or a professional to come in and help you rid the location or place or person or thing of what you believe are some sort of, malignant or, mischievous spirits or what have you. What do you guys do? I know Grim brought his bag of tricks, but I'm going to let Raven go and let us know what she would do or does, and why hasn't she done like a whole lot more of it where she lives? Because I'm telling you, folks, that place is haunted.
But it's nothing malevolent. It's just annoying.
Oh, really?
Well, it's not a life or death thing. It's just annoying.
Yeah, maybe they're just gearing up. So what do you do? What are you gonna do? Who are you gonna call?
First of all, what I do is I use my voice. I put my foot down and I claim the spot. This is mine. And if you are not for my highest good, or you are not from the light, then you got to get the hell out. And then I'll call in Archangel Michael as a backup. There's an exorcist prayer. Saint Michael, the Archangel, defend us in battle, be our protection against the wickedness and snares of the devil. May God rebuke him, we humbly pray. O Prince of the heavenly host, cast into hell Satan and all his minions who wander the earth seeking the ruin of souls. Amen. Mm-hmm. And usually that takes care of it. Now, to keep negative energy from collecting in your house, there's some good house cleaning things you can do. One of them is just using good old-fashioned sea salt and get it in the corners of the room, every room.
Thanks for stopping by, Fritz. We will speak real soon.
If you have, if you're afraid of something coming into the house, you can always put a line of salt across the doorway. To this day in Japan, they have little bowls of salt right outside the door to the entrance to the temples there, because evil can't cross that for whatever reason. I don't know what it is about salt, but salt's pretty magical in that way. Anyway, salt will also absorb negative energy, and then you just vacuum it up and take your vacuum bag out or empty the thing. You could use holy water. Frankincense is a wonderful incense to burn. That's why they burn it in the churches. It's great for any kind of exorcism. You can get it in incense sticks if you don't want to get the brick form of it, like myrrh. And they even have frankincense spray like this that you can even get at Walmart. You can spritz this around.
Would you really trust it from Walmart, though? Just saying.
Yeah, it's oil. It's essential oil. It's it's frankincense. But I'm saying you can get it at other places too. You're just going to pay a lot more for it. But anyway, it's a spritz. Okay. Another thing you can use is a popular thing is this smudging. I'm sure you all have maybe heard the term smudging. And the thing with smudging is there are some people that are allergic to smoke, or they live in an apartment and they can't smoke. And it does create a lot of smoke. There's something about the sage that spirits do not like. And I know they don't actually have a nose like we have a nose to smell, but for some reason, I don't know if it's an energetic thing or what, but they'll vacate, but they'll come right back. But at least you can get them cleared out. To smudge, you want to start at the top of your house. If you've got a 2-level house, start at the top, go counterclockwise all around. Be sure to open a door or a window on the ground level so that they've got a place to go to get out. And when you smudge, you want to make sure you open up all your closets, all your cupboard doors, so that nothing can get in there and hide and escape the smoke. And you just go all the way down. If you've got a basement, go ahead, go all the way down to the basement. If you've got an attic, start in the attic, So it takes a little bit of time, but it does work. Another thing you can do, if you cannot stand smoke, you're allergic to smoke, you're in an apartment, use sound. This right here is a Tibetan singing bowl, but you can use, just like a bell. You can use a pot and pan and a wood spoon. But get in the corners, open up the closet.
Take care, Rick. Thanks for stopping by, man.
Sound to break up negative energy. I'm not going to go through the whole thing like this, but I mean, this is kind of how you hold it up so you can see. But you can use sound. You can use water, salt, sound, and smoke.
So the 4 elements, basically.
Yeah. Or combinations thereof. Yeah. And that's just good to do if you've had a fight in the house, or you have noticed an accumulation of negative energy. That's how you can get rid of it.
We'll work on in-laws. Saying. What's up, squirrel? So Grim, how about you? What's in your bag of tricks?
Oh, well, she came up with some good ones there that are the St. Michael prayer. Some folks use that. We do help some Catholic folks. We have, I do old school recordings. These are tapes. I do, I have these with me. This is a keep me awake all night because I'm an old dude, and I have usually have an energy drink of some kind. Let's see what else. We have crosses. We have, I have medals. These are Catholic medals that I put on several of them have Michael, or most of them have Christ on there. We have crosses like the type I sent you, but not as nice generally. That we have, this has been blessed by a local priest and preachers, and also prayed over. This is just kosher salt. I always use kosher salt, sea salt. This is kosher. Generally, this is I like to use kosher sea salt. This is just says kosher salt. Sorry, but holy water is a great one.
How do you go about getting holy water?
You go to the Catholic Church, and as a Protestant, I will go to the priest, and he'll say, "This won't help you because you're not Catholic." And I'll say, "I understand," but I've always found it very helpful. The older priest that I used to go to, he was very open to what we were doing because he personally says he has a lot of requests for exorcisms and things, and he understood we were Christians, and he didn't separate Catholic and Protestant, which is unusual for a Catholic priest. But the new one says, this will help you. But you go there, they'll generally help you.
In the pinch, you can make your own by getting spring water or distilled water and putting some of that sea salt in it. Leave it out in the sun for like 3 hours or so. It's better than nothing. And say a prayer over it.
And these bottles you can get at your Catholic church store. They're very handy. They don't usually have any water in them. Sometimes they do. Sometimes the priest will go and bless items. He'll bless the crosses. He'll bless the medals. Sometimes they don't. So you got to ask if they've been blessed or not. I have these are sterile, and these are to take samples, because I also do try to do some scientific stuff. This is a beautiful bag for little to put artifacts in. This is a very pretty Irish Celtic bag. I put things in there to give out to people. Sayings, old Bibles. I collect old Bibles that are not useful anymore, and I will literally take a page out with reverence, not to destroy the word, and I make that clear. I don't just trash Bibles, but these are already damaged Bibles that are not useful as a Bible per se. And I will take those, and I will take those prayers, and I'll put them in various places where the people have behind mirrors. Particularly mirrors are bad. Mirrors are a gateway. I've had a lot of, I don't know if that's because of the vanity of man that they're bad, or what's the reason, but I have
something about them, right? I was going to bring that up about
absolutely
mirrors.
Absolutely. And when I have folks with me, we do
Thanks, Mac. I really appreciate that.
Walkie-talkies. I'm sorry.
Mac Thompson sent me a message, and I was just responding. I didn't mean to interrupt. But
no, I'm sorry. But I do want to say something real quick. James L. said something that's very true today. He's exactly right. And that is that I believe all this negativity we get in our news, even good news channels, it is full of negativity. And we didn't used to have that, in the past. We didn't have, we didn't hear about that murder in Los Angeles that was exceptionally brutal. We might hear about it later, maybe months later, weeks later, whatever. But we didn't hear about it instantly almost. That's a very negative thing. And he's very right about that. People sit and watch this, and they bring that negativity in. And what's that going to do? That's going to depress you. If it's not going to depress you, you got problems, because that's depressing. That's just not just the news. That's somebody's life. That's somebody's family member. No matter who they are, or how bad they are, somebody probably loved them. And they probably cared about them. And that person either had a bad life choice, or they weren't doing anything, and they were walking down the street or whatever, and they got shot, or somebody stabbed them or robbed them and killed them. However, and that's negative. That's something that is in everybody's homes, and it's a constant in our phones, everywhere. It's sad that there's not an uplifting news agency of any kind that sits there and does at least much more in the way of happy stories. I like.
They used to actually have what were called feel-good stories, and I haven't seen one in years.
Absolutely, and it's all the new networks that do it, not just CNN and the others. Fox, all of them do that. Epic Times, they all bring in this because that's interesting to people, and it may have exactly. It may have a big interest to folks. So
I'd like to add to that. When you're watching TV, they have they've done all the brain studies, the different states of the brain, like beta. You're in beta when you are going about your day. Next one down is alpha. And when you're watching TV, you go into alpha brainwave state, and that has a direct link to the subconscious mind. And you're very suggestive and very impressionable on that. That's why commercials are so. That's why these companies spend so much effort in their commercials. They want to impress that upon you. Think about, I bet every single one of you out there can sing the Oscar Mayer Wiener song, right?
Yep.
What brilliant marketing, right?
It's good marketing.
Or some of the slogans that these fast food places have had, all that. I mean, I bet you could name every one of them. So be careful what you watch on TV, and try not to watch something, an hour before bedtime, because that will affect your dreams, because it's all going right there into the subconscious. 90% of all of our decisions in our life come from our subconscious mind. And so
absolutely, that's great advice. Yeah, the less you watch negative, the less you watch negative, the less negative you'll have in your life. Just 100% fact.
Right.
If you don't watch as much negative, you're not going to have as much negative in your head. It's just the way we are. We take this, and then the more negative the story, like if you ever looked at, I hate to bring this up, but it's a horror, and it's one of my personal things that I fight against, is animal cruelty in China. They have a ceremony, a festival where they eat cats and dogs. And that is so brutal and inhuman. It is unbelievable how they don't, they speak of how animals are treated over here. Those dogs and cats are treated so horribly. It is unbelievable. Don't ever watch that. That's still in my head after years of seeing just a little bit of it. It was so sickening. That kind of negativity sticks with me for years.
Yeah.
But something needs to be done at that festival.
Sad commercials that the ASCPA or at
the SPCA.
Thank you. Even their commercials will get me upset.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, in this country, until Trump did something about it, it was legal to eat dogs. And now he signed a law that you can't eat, I think it's cats or dogs, which is a wonderful law about, at least they can do.
He had to create a law like that, though. I mean,
it's horrible. And don't ever look at those videos but you should definitely stand against that. And
I do.
That's awesome. And any of these places where they torture animals, that brings in plenty of negativity, I guarantee you. If you can treat an animal like that, you can treat anybody like that. You can treat a puppy like that. You can treat a baby like that. I mean, it's horrible. I mean, I don't think, and you might say, well, that's not true. Somebody wouldn't treat a human like, if you could do the things I saw in there, you could do them to a human, because you are lost. You can't hear that animal crying in misery and horror, and you're okay with it and acting okay and laughing. There's something hugely wrong with your brain. But anyways, I don't want to, but negativity, definitely, like she said, that's
awesome to hear, Six Nations. And Jarek, I've been following that since day one. Bo says, and the only reason we don't eat horses in the U.S. is the prevalence of cowboy culture. God bless the cowpoke. Amen.
Amen.
I know horses are they can be a pain in the butt. They can be pretty ornery, but there's just something about them. There are other animals, we consider vermin and pests and whatnot, and that's because they are. You hear that, all you trash pandas out there? Stay in the woods where you belong, and things will be just fine.
Yeah. Well, don't they use horses in dog food?
Oh, God.
Maybe. I don't know.
Oh, wow.
Oh, I thought that was. Yeah, I thought that's what they did with them.
And Bo says all animals are potential food. Yes, but I just can't picture, and I don't want to picture a time where we put cats and dogs on the menu. Obviously, more so dogs and cats. I am a dog person. But there's something special about the animals that choose to want to hang out with us versus the ones that run away from us. There's a intrinsic difference between that those creatures. And I don't know what it is. I'm certain that, deer and antelope and moose and bears and all that could eventually get to that point. But for right now, they're really not, for the most part. I know there's those outlier videos. I saw one of a deer the other day where they were coming to somebody's house, but after they get their meal, they're gone. Dogs and cats, they'll stick it out with us even if there's no meal right then and there. So for me, there's something special about them.
Speaking of dogs and cats, you brought up you were asking about what signs you can tell. Dogs and cats are very sensitive to this. I'm sure Raven would agree with this. And other animals, they can tell when these things are around. I don't know how, but they can either partially see them or they sense them, and they can tell you roughly where they are. If a cat stares at something for a long time in a room, and there's no mouse in the wall making noise that you can hear, and
sure they're not just retarded.
What's that?
Nothing. I just giving Raven a little bit of grief.
The animals can definitely tell you.
Yeah, they sure can. And
and Bo, real quick, Bo, if we weren't meant to make BLTs, pigs would not taste so damn delicious. Sorry, but I have,
You and bacon. You and the bacon. Anyway, cats were thought to be protective against evil spirits back in the day, and I do know that they can sense them for sure. I've got several of them running around here, and dogs too. But cats are more known to be protective and more astute at identifying them when one's around. So.
Absolutely, that's a great way. If you see your animal acting strange, that can tell you, and you're feeling strange yourself. People can sense. I used to be on a rescue squad, and when you walk into some of these scenes, like for instance, the last one I remember was a lady stabbed multiple times here in the town of Stanton. The lady was stabbed horrifically by her, I guess her lover, whatever, and he just took a steak knife and just stabbed her 8 times. You could feel it like a wave when we went in there. That evil feeling that was there and those demonic forces, it just hits you like a wave. You go to some crime scenes that are even old and you'll feel it. And it's not the darkness of a room. It's not that can help for the feeling, that can make it worse. But you can walk into a lighted room with lots of people and you can feel something happen there. Depending on how you don't want to be too
in the air.
Exactly. I bet Raven, you've felt you are more open to things. So when you go into a place, I'll bet you can feel things hit you like a wave, can't you?
Absolutely. Yeah, I'm an empath, and I didn't know I was one for the majority of my life. I'm funny about going into restaurants, and if I get a bad wave like that, I turn around. I don't want to eat there. Just go someplace else. Yeah.
You have too, Shadow. I know you've said you have that ability you can go in and just tell pretty quickly.
Yeah, it's really more of like a spidey sense, danger, but I'm also really good at sizing people up and recognizing, really good folks like everybody here in the chat. Speaking of which, Mac has won the comment of the evening with Bacon is Life. We must have been brothers in another life because I say that every single day. Bacon is life. Without bacon, I don't know, man.
Oh my God, you're so funny.
Yes, and not smart enough to avoid the frying pan.
This,
Cruelty to fragile beings like animals, the very young or old. Whoa. It's hard to comprehend, says James. Yeah, I don't eat the lettuce. Yeah, lettuce is, I don't know what that's even for. Even
Matt
rabbits can't eat lettuce.
about dogs, and I wanted to. It brought up a question that I have. I wanted to ask Grim, because the Islamic culture do not let dogs come in the home.
Absolutely. They consider them unclean animals. And
Yeah,
I
because
have
they can be possessed by a spirit, and then
they,
that's how a jinn can
Coming
get in
from,
the
I'm not
house.
even going to go there. I'm not even going to go there. I wanted
yeah,
to say
well,
something.
I can say this from a friend of mine who was Muslim, very Muslim, but he eventually became a Christian. And the interesting thing, I found that one of the first things he did was he got 2 dogs. And he's like, I never knew these creatures were so enjoyable and wonderful, and they give absolute love. That's what
Oh,
he said, they give absolute love to you. And he's like,
yeah.
I missed the life of having, when I was a kid, having this in my life. I would have loved to have had one of these dogs. And they were just, they love him, by the way. His puppies love him, and it's pretty funny. So
Yeah.
that's, I would say, why they feel that way. I don't really want to say. He had
Well,
some.
it occurred to me. It occurred to me that when that notion was, first brought about, that maybe it was long enough time ago that there was something, evolutionary about it, that maybe back then dogs weren't as nice or loving or something. Maybe something changed. I don't know.
Well, it was said that the reason why they won't let them in the house is because a jinn could possess the animal and sneak in and get invited into the house that way.
And,
And to
Never heard
jinn,
that before.
I think are synonymous with demons, really.
oh yeah, absolutely.
There's the different levels, and they have the different levels, and really we have more in common with the Muslim religion than we have not. There's just difference of names, really, but there's a lot of
I
that.
don't know, that whole child bride thing is a
Well,
hard pass.
there's a lot that is similar. We're a lot more similar than we are different, really. Yeah, there's that, but anyway, the Muslim religion came out of Judaism. We're all three of those religions come out of Abraham. They're Abrahamic religions. Christianity, Judaism, and Islam all have the same foundation. They all have the prophet Abraham, the whole Isaac and story. You're looking like you know what I'm talking about. Can you hear
Are
me?
you talking to me?
No, I was talking to Shadow.
Oh yeah, Shadow's outside now.
Yeah, we
I
can't
can't
hear
hear
you.
Shadow.
We can't hear
Sorry,
you.
buddy.
Yeah, there was a car going by. I was trying to mute
Okay.
myself, but I can't.
I thought you were frowning at me.
No, there's a car going by just at the wrong time. I'm outside
okay.
now.
All right. Anyway, they believe that then these jinn or demons could compromise a dog and kind of shove that over and enter the dog, and then the dog comes in the house, and then pooh, he can pop back out of the dog, and then you've got a jinn in the house. But that's why they didn't like dogs.
Huh.
I think I don't know how. I don't think a lot of animals personally are going to get evil spirits. Myself, I don't believe that, especially of dogs, because they're not really interested in that. And plus, I think they have protections that God gave certain animals. I mean, but they do love to go into humans. I've seen that.
Yeah, I've seen that.
That's their big entry ways. Is I've seen fake humans who think they have demons, and that's just sad. If you're that sad and want that kind of attention, and I've seen it in very sad. I remember a sad young lady who was so sad with how her parents' life was going. It was falling apart, their marriage, and I could tell this girl doesn't have a demon in her. When somebody really does, and you've seen the difference, it's the difference is quite a bit. And when you really have a demon, it's frightening when somebody has one of these things in them. They're unclean, they're unholy, and they can have more. You can have more than one. Not you, but that person. Let's put it that way. That person who has gotten these things in them can have more than one. They could have multiple, and when you see it, it's frightening, and it's frightening mostly because it's so sad. The demons are a very they're a soldier, and just always remember that if you get these things, they don't like you, but they're a soldier, and their job is to tear you down, tear your family down, tear everything good they can out of your life. And that's all they're about. And but they'll do it in clever ways. They're smart. That's why like I say, you might see that child inevitably turn into that dark spirit, that demon. I want to ask you something, Shadow, if you don't mind.
No, go for it.
You had spoken of that shadow entity you saw when you were younger on your show, wasn't it? Or what? Saturday?
On my show, and then again on Nathan's show. Yes.
Right. Would you repeat that? What happened to your viewers, just to tell how they can pop
Hold
up?
on just a minute. I've got a huge rush of traffic back here. Can you repeat that?
Can you talk about the show? Say that story again, so your viewers can hear it.
It was really quick thing. I was young, and a bunch of us were watching TV in the main room, and I went to go to my room, and it was a not very well lit hallway. And right before I reached my room, a shadow, just like right out of like Dungeons and Dragons or something, just a completely black humanoid shape popped out of my doorway and kind of ran at me, and I hightailed it right back into the other room that was brightly lit, and didn't say anything about it. And it scared the bejeebers out of me. And
can I ask
when we go for it.
Can I ask you a question about that?
Sure.
It's interesting you said you had friends over, and this is something I wanted to remember to ask you. If you bring friends over who have these things in them, do you think any of those friends could have had demonic entities in them and were not good people?
No, we were all very, very young, and I don't even really remember if there were actual friends there. I know my family was in the other room, and there might have been friends. It was so long ago. I mean, it's like 40 plus years.
I got you.
For the most part, it was a one-off until we moved into this house, and my son said he heard me talking about it with Nathan, or no, it was on our show, and he told me that he had seen several things like that in this house, and he then went on to Nathan's show, and we talked about it, and he learned a few techniques and some prayers, and that was pretty much the end of it as far as I know. So we're not really worried about things like that anymore for the most part. Jackie, he's a very religious young man and goes to church regularly, and I think they found out real quick that there was no room for them here.
Can I ask you a question? During that time, could it have come in through one of your tenants you had in your room? You think that was a possibility? Did any of them seem like they were a little weird, a little off, little?
Oh, no, we only had family living there. If anything, the house we lived in was previously owned by a group of Hell's Angels.
Oh, there you go. Yeah, I mean that could definitely.
Yeah, and it's funny too, because with the work my father and I did, we years later went through the house with some equipment and found all kinds of devices throughout the home and proceeded to remove them.
Oh, good,
And
good. What were some of these items? Can you recall
well,
those?
listening devices.
Oh, wow. From
Yeah,
government
they
agencies listening to the Hells
yeah
Angels?
they for the most part they were probably leftovers from the previous inhabitants. But my father did own a gun shop, so there
Oh,
was the potentiality for some of them to be newer. I didn't
wow.
partake or participate in most of that day. I was, still pretty young, but I knew what was going on, and I overheard some conversations, and you know, uh, things, got
Wow.
better, so to speak.
Well, also, I was asking you about when you had tenants in this house you're living in now, could any of those people have
Oh,
brought in
oh,
an unclean spirit? The shadow people
that's a
that
possibility.
Jackson saw.
For the most part, they weren't. None of them were, except for one couple that stayed with us for a while. Very religious. A couple of them, one of them had a drug issue that they were
Mhm.
recovering from, and I think they were well protected going through the program, and that sort of thing. We did have, I think the last person who was here was just an absolute horrible human being, and we got rid of that person within 30 days. I think it's more of again, previous tenants, the people who previously owned the place had a lot of negativity, so much so that when we were cleaning up the place, we were painting one of the rooms, and I had to take off the vents, the registers out in my son's room. And when I was opening it, I looked in, I saw something I couldn't believe, and I took the vent off, and I got a phone and I took a picture of it, and it was a giant, I kid you not, this big rubber green and black spider that had been placed in the vent. You know what I mean? Incredible sense of humor, but at the same time, it literally could have given somebody a heart attack,
Sure.
and it was kind of mean spirited, but still kind of funny. But for a second there, I'm like, there is no way, you know, that's spiders don't normally come in green, nor do they come in like this size. But for a split second, I was like, what the heck?
Yeah, that might startle you. I can see that.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
wish I would have
Yeah.
kept the photograph, but we did keep the spider.
Oh, you should show the spider one day. That's funny. And
Hmm.
but you're right. That what if you were an older person that gave you a lady who was cleaning and gave you a heart attack? You
Right,
were an
right. Well,
old lady and she's terrified of
we would have been
spiders.
able to track them down, and that could have been, taken to court. But fortunately, that wasn't meant to be.
Well, I mean,
James,
that would definitely open a gateway, is what I'm saying. That would be the instrument of her death would be an ill-spirited prank. So
Hmm.
never know about those ill-spirited pranks causing trouble. They sure can.
Yeah.
right,
Yeah,
and
you're right.
James, your ace is with us. Don't be putting yourself down, man. Uh, yeah, Sun Tzu, a fabulous book.
Yeah.
Everybody should read it at least once in their life. I've got 3 copies, so I
The
read
uh,
it pretty regularly.
the bit about the dog and Islam that came from there was a years back. There was a reality show about a couple of Muslim families in Michigan. Can't remember the name of the show. It was like on A&E or something like that. And the daughter had fallen in love with a Christian, and they were trying to make it work. And they were engaged to get married, and the
Absolutely, James.
her fiance had a dog, and so they went through the whole thing about all the drama about the dog, and she was still of the opinion that the dog is not coming in the house, and he'd had this dog 10 or 12 years or whatever, and he's like, this is a member of the family, you don't understand, he's coming with me, and yeah, he's coming with me. And so there was all this. That's how I knew about the dog part of Islam. I was just stating my source. I think I saw
We'll
somebody
talk
say
to you
something
again real
about it.
soon, James. Like tonight.
Dude, oh, it's my problem child, Murphy. Oops. Um,
Take care, James.
clean mind, clean empties. So mirrors, you want to talk about mirrors? If
Sure,
you've
sure.
got an antique mirror, or you want to watch mirrors. Mirrors tend to be a portal. And like Grim and I mentioned earlier, not exactly sure why, but they back in the olden days, in fact, when people died more at home than in hospitals, after someone died or even before they passed away, if they had time, they would cover all the mirrors in the home and leave them that way for about a week afterwards, so that the newly deceased would not get trapped in between dimensions and could go on to the afterlife. And I really don't know where any of that started. Do you know any history on that, Grim?
Uh, well, you're right. Well, when the mirrors first came out and the idea of mirrors, they were banned by, I don't know if it was the Pope specifically didn't, but it was banned because they were believed to promote
Probably vanity.
vanity and they thought it was an issue of vanity. Like you won't see mirrors in a lot of Amish homes.
True.
Because they believe the
There's
same
a
thing.
fantastic song by Blue Oyster Cult, believe it or not, called Mirrors, on their album Mirrors, which was the very first Blue Oyster Cult album I ever had, which absolutely proves beyond a shadow of a doubt that Blue Oyster Cult was what happens when heavy metal fell in love with disco and they had a child, and that child was Blue Oyster Cult. If you're interested, go check out that album from, I believe, 1977, the greatest year of all time for nerds and geeks and music fans. Go check out that album and that song, Raven. You will. It says it all. It really does. I really do think that it had a lot to do with the fact that it was a brand new invention. Let's say, when they were really, refined to really, perfectly display, whatever was reflected in them, and that, just like cameras with certain peoples, they believe they stole your soul. I think it's very easy for a superstition to pop up around a new invention. I remember when computers were first coming into homes, that a lot of simpler folk thought they were the devil, myself included. I still think they're evil, but we've got to work with what we've been given in this life, and it's a double-edged sword, like all weapons. They could be used to defend and they could be used to attack with. So just be careful. You use caution whenever you use something like that. Mirrors,
one of the few
they show a lot more than people realize. And I think that, back then it would be very easy to be afraid of them.
I told you about that old folks home I mentioned earlier that was connected with that cult. That room, right, where those kids were being taught to kill these animals in a ritualistic, demonic, horrible way they did it, and the bloody footprints were going around in circles. That's one of the few places I got a demonic entity, what I would call, if you want to give it a low level imp looking thing. That's one of the few places I ever got a photograph of a demon in a mirror, was that place and that room. And then, boy, that room, you walked in and it hit you like a wave. It hit me before the guy told me, before I saw the footprints. That was just evil and evil. And they tore that place down, by the way.
One of these days I'll tell you guys off camera a very frightening story of myself and a mirror. This isn't the time or the place, but they like I said, a double-edged sword. They can be used for great good. A simple example is when the Border Patrol uses them to look under vehicles for things instead of getting down on their hands and knees and looking under a vehicle. But at the same time, they can be used for a lot of other really horrible things.
Absolutely. Yep.
be careful. I think there's a reason that goes along with it why if you break a mirror, you're going to be cursed with 7 years bad luck. I can see how that could easily, have come into, the pop culture of the time and, stick with us all the way till present day.
Absolutely. Yeah, mirrors.
Maybe later back, I'll definitely take you up on that. Just it's not something for the little guy's ears. I'm sure you can understand. Not something I want to commit to posterity. Not one of my finer moments. Let's just put it that way.
Okay.
Yeah, mirrors can definitely
Agreed,
be.
Mac.
So do you
Oh,
bless
real
them?
quick, Mac, do you know how to get a hold of me in Discord? I forget. And if we're already hooked up, cool. If not, let me know how I can get a hold of you.
Yeah, yes, I do. I do.
What do you do to make them safe?
Well, we take holy water and I put the 3 crosses on the mirror, and I usually they have an edge of some kind, and I can put salt on top. One of the last people I dealt with, she was having mirror issues, and that's where she said it was the worst. I got photographs. I didn't see anything, but we did bless that mirror. She was a single mom and she had 3 kids, and she was having a terrible time. And one of the things she kept mentioning was this bathroom mirror. And so that's what we did. We prayed over it. She said things got better. Apparently, the house she was living in had some bad things before she even got there. And then with her marital problem she had with her ex-husband, I guess that made things worse. People's personal problems and sadnesses and things can just make things worse. If you have a demon in there, it just makes things worse. So try not, there's something I wanted to just say, if you don't mind, just try not to make your life, guys out there that are listening, don't watch the news. There's a good start. Just like James L. said earlier, stay away from the media. Stay away from watching negative shows. Watch something you find good that's not negative. I mean, if you see a bunch of people getting killed in there, that's probably negative. I mean, you may enjoy it. I like a good, Schwarzenegger movie. Not that there's been any for a while. He's getting old, but I enjoy those. But that can definitely lead to you feeling negativeness. I mean, people dying is a negative thing, and particularly if they're getting shot. Remember Arnold just going up to the door, say Arcana. And she's like, yes. And he kills this little mom. Of course, he's a machine, but, that's going to lead to it's just a nice little mom came to the door. He shot her. That's a little bit negative, That's going to play in your mind, even if it's not in the front of your mind, back of your mind. Wow, that's a little bit negative. Even though he's a machine, he's doing what he was ordered to do. But then again, who made the machine? Man makes these machines. The AI in them is made by man, so don't trust them. My best advice is if you think AI is going to be a good thing, do you think those people that programmed it are good people? Think about that, because that's what it's going to have. I got off the subject, but I think evil spirits will definitely.
These are all things that tie into, the keeping your domicile, well protected, with positivity, as opposed to the rampant negativity that we see literally everywhere these days. The sheer fact that none of us here can remember a good feel-good story on the news, it's like collectively they all went, we're not going to do that anymore. And I'm guilty of it myself. I watch a lot of news, not regular news, mind you, because that's all garbage, no matter who or what side of the fence you sit on. There's obviously you need to know what's going on, but in the old days we had an hour of news and then we went about our thing. Now we have this 24-hour news cycle that's just hitting us nonstop with crap. For a guy who has a YouTube channel, that's supposed to be about gaming and things like that, I find myself watching fewer and fewer game and positive videos, and I try to chalk it up to, you know, protecting my son of what's coming down the pike. But I think we all could use a good long break from this. Try to just limit yourself to an hour a day of news. You'll get the the most important story of the day, so to speak, or the week, and then move on. Find anything else, even better than watching stuff. I find that listening to music is actually one of the best things we can do to keep that positivity. I mean, unless you're listening to certain kinds of music that really aren't all that positive, but I guarantee you've got that favorite album, that favorite band that you can put on and just it will clear the area, the space, especially if you have people in the house who don't like the same kind of music as you. Turn that crap up, drive out those evil spirits, and get on with your day and do something positive. I mean, you guys agree?
Evil
Yep,
spirits.
absolutely. This
I
is
think
one of the fastest.
we all agree evil spirits don't like positive. So
Nope.
you're exactly right. Get
And
rid
music
of the things
changes your
that aren't
state
positive in your life, and as much as you can, even if it's a little bit. Even if you're addicted to news, just wean yourself off of it and watch something.
Guilty as charged.
I mean, there are fun channels you can watch. Green Acres,
Yeah, like this one.
What's that?
I said like this one.
Exactly. Watch Shadow Show, and
sorry guys, I couldn't resist.
Positive things, and put those in your life, and put them in your family's life. If you guys say you eat and sit in front of the TV, which happens to us, try to have one day a week where you sit around and have positive family conversations, not anything negative that happened in their lives. You're not dealing with their problems at that particular moment. You're dealing with a positive flow of good energy, right? Good energy of that family talking back and forth, having fun, laughing together. You'll find stuff like that helps you immensely.
Oh, yes. Yeah. And like you mentioned, evil spirits can't stand it. There's an energy that we give off when we're really negative, when we're really sad, mad, jealous, have guilt, have shame, those lower density emotions, and they feed off of it. It's
absolutely, they do. Absolutely,
like a drug.
Well, I have to disagree with you on one point there, Raven. We do need to bring shame back. Without it, there's no guilt for wrongdoing, and I think we absolutely need to bring that back. People should not feel free to do just whatever they want because it feels good to them. That leads to all kinds of awful behavior that we've only seen a resurgence, the likes of which I don't think Earth has ever known before.
But those people aren't watching your shows, Shadow, so I thought I was pretty safe in saying that across the board, your viewers here and us on this panel are of the light, and I don't need to touche.
Yeah,
I'm not going to hear the end of that later, folks. You can guarantee that. Real quick, Mac, type O, just type O. I think that's what mine is. I don't know. Are you a vampire? Because if so, I'm not inviting you in. Wow, what a shot. You guys missed it. I should have been a ninja. And yes, dinner tables do need to make a comeback. I've actually done that with the boys here every night. Ask them how their day was and things
great.
like that. No electronic devices, the whole bit. We need so much more of that.
Absolutely. I mean, this right here can be a positive thing if you use it that way, but it's such a negative thing you carry in your pocket. I mean, I have my Bible on here, and when I go to a church, particularly on Wednesdays, I'll use this just because I can get there quicker than flipping through my Bible. But I have a good Bible on there, King James Version, just a simple thing. But you could just as easily put evil stuff on here, no problem. I mean, it's right at your fingertips. This thing alone, I want to stop getting myself to carrying it so much. That's my goal. I found I even get involved in games too much, just simple games. Like I love COD. I'm real good at COD. And all it is continued killing. I'm just killing other players. I know they're not really being killed, but I think about it sometimes. What if that person I shot, that depressed them for I mean, it can happen and it's just the way of it. But what if that person I shot got depressed for the rest of the day? They thought they were really good. I shot them because I like to camp, guys. I'm a camper. My son hates that, but I'll camp and amp. So what happens, to that little kid, or he's like, oh man, I thought I was good, and then he legitimately gets really sad over that. And I think that's maybe I shouldn't do it so much. And this thing here, it really has a lot of problems. I think I don't believe it's real safe. It's not safe for your conversations, and it's definitely, I don't think, safe to put this very powerful device up to your head on a regular basis.
I would agree. And just in content, like the trolls that are out there, that can ruin somebody's day. And so just be aware of what stories you're forwarding on, unless they're informational or whatever. Be kind. Just be kind.
There you go. That's great advice. And when you're talking on chats and stuff and people are on there, just be nice to them. You don't know them, just be pleasant.
Yeah.
I've seen too many people get on chats and start arguments with somebody across the world. Do they really need to argue about something with somebody all the way across the world and cause stress to themselves and that person? No.
I know, it's
but
insane.
They do. You're exactly right, Raven. They do, though. And they start that argument. And then they're angry. They're angry for days because of this person in China, wherever, Japan, I don't know. They're all the way across the world and they're arguing. I've done that. I argued with a guy from India about my game group, and he was, we got in a big argument. But then I realized, my gosh, this guy's in India. I kicked him out of my group and said, goodbye, good luck, find somewhere nice. I was nice about it, and then I kicked him out because I'm like, I don't need that.
Yeah.
And he doesn't need it. But we're arguing about something that really doesn't matter across the world. We're tying up valuable resources of what used to be Milnet, and we're arguing about stuff across the world. This internet was invented. I don't know if probably most of your viewers know this, but it was invented to bypass cities that have been nuked. It was meant to say, I have a tactical situation, and I need to launch these nukes, or I have to get this information to a new target, international, ICBM target. So for our enemies. So I tap that in. They've already nuked these cities. In the old way, that could stop my connection with them. But with Milnet, I could get that information to the ICBMs. And
you know that.
That's what the majority of what we see the internet was based on, was Milnet. And that was so we could get information to cities that had been, that was scary, Shadow. That scared me.
Sorry, extreme close up. I had to get something from underneath my table. But
you look scary. You did the eye thing. That scares me. So now I'm scared.
Hey, nothing's scarier than Raven going cross-eyed. Trust me.
Do you go cross-eyed, Raven?
I can.
I tell you.
Well,
these are good.
I hope, folks, I'm certain we will get a whole lot of comments just for that alone. Folks, we're nearing the end of the show. We've done a full 2 hours. I really appreciate you guys coming on. I know there were a lot of great folks and great comments in the chat today. If you guys would like to, continue this discussion, let me know later in the the other comment section, or as our friend Mr. Max says, the insult section. But just to wet your guys' whistle a little bit, Grim and Raven are going to be coming back on the show where we're going to be talking about the paranormal. I segregate the two words, supernatural and paranormal, because I personally look at supernatural being magic, having to deal with good and evil, God, Satan, whatever you want to call it, but things that I call magic. Now, the paranormal for me, that's going to be where I lump in the categories like psychic powers and aliens and big feet and things like that we can touch and witness and sometimes even film, and that have actually been studied in depth by various governments and scientific groups and corporations and things like that, that for me don't necessarily mean magic, for whatever that's worth. So the three of us will be back, but I'm going to wait until after Halloween, maybe even the New Year, so we can start the New Year off with a whole perspective, how we're going to go into this new year, because it's going to be a tough one, folks. Not to bring the show down at the end, but I would like to embrace all the holiday seasons that are coming up. Whatever you guys celebrate. Thanksgiving being a huge favorite of mine, and being thankful for all the blessings we have. This opportunity to hang out with all you guys being way up there on my list of things that I'm grateful for every day. I've met so many wonderful people. Every one of you who've been in the show today, and those of you who left, and more than likely a great number of you that are going to come back and watch the rest of the show, or will be watching it for the first time later on. We had a lot of people participate and hang out today. I hope you guys learned something. If you have any questions for Grim or Raven, go ahead and put them in the chat. You can always get a hold of both of these guys, I believe, on Facebook as well. So where can we find you, Grim? If people have questions,
I don't have a Facebook for my group anymore. I haven't done it as a regular thing for a while, and sadly, because it is a lot of negativity and it's a lot to take on you. I had a box of stuff that was literally so evil and had so many pictures of these things that my friend wanted it, and the thing moaned, so I gave it to him. I don't know why he wanted it, but can I say one quick thing to all you folks out there, and maybe we should all?
Of course.
If you guys have negative things in your life, think about this. There is a spiritual war going on that you don't see. And you may have a beautiful, tall, angelic person there defending your life and your family, and you don't even know it. That time when you don't wreck into somebody and you thought, oh, wow, I should have hit them. You might have two angels on the side helping you, correct the situation. It's a war. You're in it. Whether you want to be or not, you're in the middle of the battleground. You're right there in no man's land. And sadly, a lot of people don't know that. And if you're having trouble with demonic entities, I'm happy to come. I can get some folks I know, and all I ask is travel expense if it's a long way away. But I'm happy to try to help you, because nobody should suffer through what these things do. And they do a lot, and they do a lot of harm. I'm sure Raven has seen a lot of folks being harmed by that. And they're there. Just try to be positive in your life. Try to, if I recommend becoming a Christian. You're not, just being positive helps. Even if whatever you are, whatever you believe in your life, be positive. Get your family and friends together and be positive. Don't let somebody sit there and make vile jokes, about somebody else in the group or whatever, even if it's a joke. Try to have a day where you're just positive. Everything's positive. Like you're going down the road, somebody cuts you off, just say, there was no wreck. It's a positive thing, because that can really help your life in great ways. And it can help your family, and it can keep you from you or other people from getting angry and having any of that stuff. Like somebody cutting you off on the road can make you angry for the rest of the day. And
I've seen it happen.
I've had that happen. So just try to be positive, stay positive, and pray if you know, and ask those angels to protect you. You might be surprised.
That's an excellent point. Excellent point. Your emotional energy is very similar to like the ocean waves, how it ebbs and flows. And what you're sending out was what you're seeding the field with. And if you're seeding it with a bunch of negativity, it's going to attract more, and more negativity is going to come back. You seed it out with positive things, you've got positive things coming back. So that's where a lot of people think that affirmations are silly and they don't work. And I disagree. I disagree totally.
Totally, I agree with that.
Sometimes that's all it takes. There are some great people out there. Our friend r.Keith, he's a great guy for that. Which I think is his strongest suit. He might think otherwise, but that's why I watch him. Keith, if you're watching, keep on doing what you're doing. Raven, where can our friends out here find you? Besides on that YouTube channel that doesn't exist yet?
Yeah, I'll be I'm still working on it. I still got to shoot my first video. I'm getting it set up though. In the meantime, they can find me at 12radio.com, or they can find me at Facebook. Or Raven McMinn at yahoo.com. If you want to shoot me an email, and I'm available to within a certain 100-mile radius. I can help somebody if you're dealing with a haunting. I can make a house call to see what we're dealing with. So, yeah.
And how about you? What would you say would be the most positive thing, Shadow, for folks to go with for today in their lives?
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear the last part.
What would be the most positive thing you can tell your viewers to do today or this week? Just what would you recommend?
Gratitude, as always. Be grateful for everything you've got. Stop looking at what other people have. There are people all over the world that would kill to be in your shoes.
Absolutely.
And we live in an incredible time right now where we have some of the greatest inventions, the greatest people, and the greatest ways to waste your time. This channel being one of them. Just appreciate what you got, and maybe you'll see things a little bit differently. And I hope you guys have a wonderful day, and that you'll look at things differently. And with the help of our friends here tonight, when you get spooked or something like that, you'll be a little bit better prepared for those situations. Information being power, and forewarned is forearmed. A couple of my favorite phrases to keep in the forefront. If we were able to help even just one person today, I know it's really cliche, but it makes it all worthwhile. I guarantee there's somebody out there that's going to remember the show someday, and hopefully it'll get them out of a sticky situation and let them go about, enjoying the life that they've been given. So with all that, folks, I'm going to say goodnight to all of you. I'm not sure if the boy and I are going to do a video tonight or not. If we do, it'll be, Halloween related. We really probably should. It's a brand new month and we want to get all this stuff out, but I don't know what its schedule's going to be like. Otherwise, it'll be tomorrow, which is our normal announcement video slot. But thank you guys so much for being here with us today. And as always, happy trails.
Thanks, Shadow.
Always a pleasure.
Are we out?
Bye-bye.